say what you want about Braxton Jones, but you know what you're getting there as a left tackle, and probably Caleb Williams' most important year. So you can't afford to kind of take a step back in year one in the hopes you eventually develop him into a franchise left tackle, because this next year is so important. So can Josh Simmons be that guy? I think he's one of a couple who maybe could at least give you Braxton Jones performance in year one, but there's no guarantee there. So to me, I think while he's a fit and would work, I don't think he's going to be the pick for them in the first round.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And, you did a beautiful way to segue into the first thing we're supposed to talk about. And because I got flustered, I forgot and just went straight in the names. But we're supposed to talk about what the Bears have on their roster at offensive tackle.
Yeah.
You mentioned Braxton Jones, left tackle, Darnell Wright, right tackle. Like, they are in a spot where I think you don't really need a tackle. I'd like an upgrade from Braxton Jones. And that's not even as much about his play for me as this is availability. He has missed 4 or 5 games each of the last 2 years, like something like 10 games total the last two years. That's tough for me to stomach and say that's my starting left tackle going forward. That's my primary concern at the offensive tackle position. But Steve, let me ask you this. How much draft capital do you think the Bears could be spending or should spend at the offensive tackle position when we're talking pure offensive tackle, not guys who are moving to guard?
Right. I think they could use a first round pick at offensive tackle, at left tackle specifically. I think, Darnell Wright's obviously, the right tackle for next year and the future, but they could potentially use a pick in the first round of left tackle if, again, you think that player is going to be as good or better than Braxton Jones in year one. Like you said, the availability is a big thing. But I only think there's like maybe 1 or 2 guys who kind of fit that profile in the first round. They did draft Kiran Amegadjie in the 3rd round last year. I think his best bet is probably inside at guard. Just kind of, I know he was a rookie coming from a small school, but what we saw, it just did not look good at left tackle.
Really? I'm surprised to hear you say that, because I thought that he showed all the traits you want at offensive tackle.
That's fair.
It was just sloppy as hell. Like, he just didn't know what he was doing.
And you've probably watched him more than I have. I'm more of NFL draft. So once they're in the pros, you watch them more than I am. So I'll trust your opinion. I'll trust your evaluation there. But I think they could potentially give him some competition at that swing tackle. And then, the loser of that swing tackle position kind of shifts inside to guard. So whether that's Kiran or this guy that they draft. So I think the earliest you'd see, if they don't take one in round 1, I don't see them taking one in round 2. I think the round 2, you really want to, that means they're okay with Braxton. You're not going to get a better starter than Braxton in round 2. So they're going to go a different position. I think Kiran was pick 72, which is what they have now, or at least he was right around there.
Yeah, something like that.
He could do that 3rd round, but I think at the very least you wanted to take another chance on day 3, early day 3, maybe if you have a 4th round pick from a trade down, or maybe with 149, whatever they have, take a guy. There are some intriguing offensive tackles kind of on day 3. We could maybe get into some of them later. So I think that makes sense. It's either round 1 or like day 3. I don't see really much of it in between there.
I'm with you on that. And now when we're talking about guys who are a fit for the Bears offense at offensive tackle, and not offensive guard, not center, but offensive tackle, what are you looking for to fit Ben Johnson's offense? Like, what are the traits that you are considering important?
Yeah, like I said, we don't know exactly what they're going to be running. We just have a general idea. They could run something completely different than what Detroit ran last year. But if we're just looking at kind of what Detroit looked like on their offensive line, bigger guys, 320 plus, taller guys, even like through the interior. Interesting that I was kind of looking at their offensive line. They didn't seem to care too much about length. I mean, Penei Sewell only had like 33 and something inch arms, so it didn't seem like, I'm not saying that they don't care about length, but I think they might have lower thresholds than what we've seen maybe in the past. But you're just looking for guys. This might sound, a little simplistic, but you're looking for big guys who can move, which obviously everyone's looking for that. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. We're going to talk. I have, some guys who I think fit better than. But we'll kind of talk about all of them all. But I think guys who are taller, guys who are maybe a little bit heavier, but still have at least enough athleticism kind of move and get on space. It's not going to be that straight, just big baller who can't really move, but they're strong. But it's also not going to be those undersized guys who are really, quick. And it's kind of like the in between of those two guys.
Yeah, I've generally kind of taken a approach with it of like, they got Penny Sewell. You had the chance to draft Penny Sewell. You were drafting Penny Sewell,
Right.
and they got there, and Taylor Decker was there as a successful offensive tackle. So, like, the way I see it, they didn't really have a preference in their guy. Like they were locked into their guys. So my approach with it is a bit more of like, I'm just looking at finding talent at offense. Like, I'm trying not to box myself into too much, just being like, this guy can play offensive tackle. That's a fit to me, because like, as long as they can, I guess I should preface that with saying that that's more of the pass game.
Yeah.
As a run blocker, I want to be able to move people. That's like, I feel like they're going to run a lot of gap concepts.
Yeah.
You got to be able to move people physically.
Yep. A lot more gap, less outside zone, gap inside zone, kind of what I believe what we're kind of looking for.